So momentum has stopped shortly, but it's gone through to Matoma. He's going to try and attack Jefferson Lerma. Comes onto his right foot. Low cross is poor from De Kuyper. Goes straight at Hughes. Palace have it with Lerma right by the corner flag. He plays it down the line to Munoz. Sarr is back to help the Palace defence, and Lerma will just hook the ball forward towards Strand Larsen. He is able to flick the header on ahead of Dunk. There is no one further forward, and Brighton have the ball with Kadioglu, and that's going to be a really intriguing battle between Strand Larsen and Lewis Dunk. So far, Strand Larsen's done pretty well against the Brighton skipper, winning at least 2 headers. As Sarr now has the ball on the right-hand side, what can he do? Checks it back to Munoz. Cross comes in, but there's no one at the back post other than the Brighton player who hasn't dealt with it very well, Pascal Gross. He does play it back to Verbruggen, who has to clear. Brighton a little bit fortunate there. Costulas, who again is dropping pretty deep for Brighton. Flicks the ball over the top. It's one for Matoma to race on to. It bounces awkwardly. Lerma wins the header. Matoma goes over. That's never going to be a foul. It's just going to be a Brighton throw on the near side. Karu Matoma, such a talented left winger for the Seagulls, the Japan international. Of course, got that degree in dribbling. De Kuyper throws the ball back to Boscagli. Boscagli gets the ball back from De Kuyper. He's slowly taking his time. Goes into the feet of Pascal Gross. Goes over to Kadioglu. Ball goes down the line to the youngster, Harry Howe. Slightly loose touch, but he's able to knock it back to Lewis Dunk, his skipper. Dunk goes route one. It's one for Matoma to chase, but Henderson read the danger and he caught the ball right on the edge of his penalty box. Good goalkeeping from the former Manchester United goalkeeper. Maxence Lacroix is slowly bringing the ball forward. Goes to Richards. His ball is into the channel, but that will be one for Dunk to deal with, and he plays it back to his goalkeeper Verbruggen. To Kuyper now. Brighton have it with Costulas again in his own half. Loses possession and Palace have the ball. It's Lacroix holding off the challenge of Costulas. And then Costulas, in fact it's Believer who commits the foul, and Palace will have a free kick in Brighton's half. Believer just clipping the heels of the England midfielder Adam Wharton. Again, another one of Crystal Palace's prized assets. Of course, they lost Eberechi Eze to Arsenal in the summer. They lost Mark Gehi in January. There have been talk about a move away from the club for Jean-Philippe Mateta. He is still with Palace at the moment. He's injured today. Of course, Adam Wharton is always heavily linked with some of the biggest clubs across the continent. As the ball comes in towards the back post, headed across, it comes towards Kadioglu. Brighton haven't cleared it yet. Dropped to Will Hughes. Brighton clear the ball. Headed back in. It just drops towards De Kuyper, who will half volley it very quickly. It's one for Matoma to run onto, but Dean Henderson read the danger and boots it forward. De Kuyper with the header. Costulas is chasing the ball. Does brilliantly to lift it over the head of Pino. It's Ruta. Just tries to be a little bit too clever. The former leads forwards, and it goes out for a Brighton throw on the near side. In fact, I think it's gone Crystal Palace's way, which is a little bit surprising. I'm not sure that was the right decision there. As Munoz tosses the ball back into play to Adam Wharton. Really does have a wand of a left foot, doesn't he, the England midfielder? So talented. Will Hughes now, former Watford and Derby midfielder. Mitchell. Palace just go back and try and keep a hold of the ball defensively. Brighton, who haven't really enjoyed their recent games against Crystal Palace. They've only won, I think it's twice in their last 13 games against Crystal Palace in the Premier League, as the ball nearly comes through to Sarr, but Brighton are able to just pass it back to the goalkeeper of Verbruggen. They're able to clear their lines, although the referee has now blown his whistle to indicate that Ismaila Sarr was offside. And Sarr is actually Crystal Palace's second leading goal scorer this season. Mateta has scored 10 goals across all competitions this season, but Sarr has 9. And actually, the last time Crystal Palace travelled to the Amex in the Premier League, that was back in December 2024. Sarr scored twice and got an assist. That will be something that Brighton will be hoping they don't see this afternoon. Quarter of an hour in at the Amex, it's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0. In the English Premier League, it's 13th versus 15th. As the ball goes out of play on the far side, it will be a Crystal Palace throw. The veteran James Milner is watching on from the Brighton substitutes bench. He'll be hoping he comes on, because if he does, he will equal Gareth Barry's record of Premier League appearances. That will be 653 Premier League games. He made his debut in this division 24 years ago. Yes, a very, very long time. Will we get to see a bit of James Milner today? Let's see. As Brighton have the ball with Maxim de Kuiper. Plays it into the feet of Goalless. It is interesting to see how Goalless and Ruta are interchanging who's the furthest player forwards, as Kalioglu just can't control the ball on the far side. It goes out for a Crystal Palace throw. Very often Ruta is dropping, and sometimes Goalless is dropping, and that must be very difficult for the Crystal Palace defence just to track properly. There has been times where Goalless has dropped deep and Aquara has almost followed exactly his movements, almost back into the other half, as Goalless plays the ball out wide to Harry Howe. And the referee has actually blown his whistle for a free kick, and he's bringing out a yellow card here for Will Hughes. The referee Thomas Bramall. It was actually a pretty dangerous challenge on Jorginho Ruta in the end. Pretty reckless. He had no control, and I think if his foot had been a little bit higher up, he might have been looking at a red card here. I really wonder if VAR would consider having a look at this. I think it is the right decision by the referee. He was in no control of that challenge, Will Hughes. I don't think the video assistant referee, James Bell, will intervene here. But Crystal Palace are now going to have to face a Brighton free kick. Gross is having a discussion with Lewis Dunk. De Kuiper is there as well. I suspect it will be Gross. He really is a set-piece master. I suspect he's going to try and curl the ball into the Crystal Palace penalty area to see if they can cause some danger. Palace lined up just about 5 yards inside their penalty box. It is Gross. De Kuiper is there as well. Crystal Palace do have a wall in case Brighton are thinking about shooting directly. It's a little bit too far to the right in my opinion, but you never know. And if it was going to be a shot on goal, you'd suspect it'd be one for De Kuiper. But I think Gross will take seniority here. And it is Gross. Cross comes in, decent delivery, comes towards Dunk, and he just flashes the header wide. That was clearly what they had discussed. Again, Dunk just can't get his header on target. A couple of chances now for the Brighton skipper. How he would love to score against his great rivals. Dunk wins the header for Brighton. Sarr now has it for Palace. Does really well to get away from De Kuiper. Important challenge though by Buscaglia, and Dunk now has the ball. He plays into the feet of Howe. Heavy pass back to Kalioglu, but it doesn't matter. Brighton starts again with the Netherlands international goalkeeper Verbruggen, who was closed down very quickly by Strand Larsen, but he was able to find Buscaglia as De Kuiper plays the ball down the line. The tone was taken down. And in the end, the referee does decide to give Brighton the free kick. I think he was going to allow play to continue, but Brighton quickly lost possession, and the referee determined that there was no advantage to be played. Just a little bit late there from Maxence Lacroix. Again, just tracking the Brighton attackers. Oliver Glasner continues to pass on information. Of course, he was a very frustrated figure come the end of the transfer window, losing Mark Gehi. He's expected to leave the club at the end of the season, Oliver Glasner, but his criticism of Crystal Palace's sales and recruitment policy has questioned his future at the club. 20 minutes gone at the Amex. It's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0 in the English Premier League. It's the M23 derby. Two sides in pretty poor form between them. Crystal Palace not won in the last 12 matches in all competitions. Brighton only won once in January. It's 13th versus 15th in the Premier League table. Palace have it on the halfway line with Ismail Sarr. Inside to Wharton. Plays it back to Hughes in the centre circle. He brings the ball into Brighton's half. Goes wide to Mitchell. Hughes. Palace will begin again at the back. Jefferson Lerma now has the ball. It's a loose pass out to Munoz and they lose possession. Frustrating moment for Oliver Glasner, who's clearly very annoyed on the sidelines at the moment. Jefferson Lerma, of course, formerly of Bournemouth. Colombian midfielder, playing in defence this afternoon. It's to Kuiper, preparing to take the throw. Throws it long down the line towards Matoma. He's been marked very tightly by Lerma, so it is a Brighton throw on the near side. Brighton have been dominating possession so far in this game. They've had 62%, while Palace have only had 38% of the ball. It's a poor pass though by Harry Howe. Intercepted by Tyrick Mitchell, who's trying to bring the ball away. Howe's desperately trying to win the ball back. He gets a foot in. It's a Palace throw on the far side. But it wasn't a particularly good ball out to Kadioglu. He's got to do a little bit better than that, the 17-year-old. Of course, he's just 17 years of age. Goalless is only 18 years of age. Plenty of inexperience in this Brighton side. It's Dean Henderson to Maxence Lacroix. He's going to bring the ball forward. Wharton flicks it over to Hughes, and Crystal Palace happy with possession at the moment at the back with Lacroix. Comes over to Munoz. He's been trapped by De Kuiper, so he plays it back to Lerma. Lerma decides to launch it forward, and Dunk brings it down beautifully with the chest. Class there from the Brighton captain, but Lerma now has the ball for Palace. He spreads it over to Mitchell, just behind the left wing back. Momentum just stalls for Crystal Palace. Will Hughes now on the halfway line. Nowhere really to go other than backwards to Chris Richards, the American international, formerly of Bayern Munich, of course. Lacroix plays it forwards. One of Crystal Palace players, Pinot and Sarr, almost getting in each other's way. Brighton have it with Gross. Plays it out to Ruta, who's on the attack here. Palace defend really well, and the ball will just ricochet back to the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. Midway through the first half, Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0 in the English Premier League, down at the American Express Community Stadium by the beautiful Sussex South Downs in Falmer, on the outskirts of Brighton and Hove. Can be very difficult to get home from at times, but the Brighton home fans will not care if they can get a win against Crystal Palace this afternoon. It's Tyrick Mitchell, puts a cross into the box. Dunk is able to get a foot in ahead of Strand Larsen. It's a loose touch by Ruta, but Kadioglu is able to just loop the ball forward. Kadioglu has actually played in a whole range of positions since joining Brighton. As Palace are on the attack right now. It's a poor ball into the feet of Strand Larsen by Pinot. It's clear that these players just don't have the same idea of what each other are doing. Of course, Strand Larsen is new to the club, so they're not on the same wavelength yet. As Kadioglu brings the ball forward for Brighton Hove Albion. He is racing forward with the ball, in fact. And then he didn't really know what he was going to do with it. All he knew that he was going to run with it, and then he just played the ball forward, and Palace were able to defend, but Brighton do have it again with Lewis Dunk. As I was saying about Kadioglu, he's played right back, left back, right wing, left wing. I think he's played central midfield as well for the Seagulls. Played literally everywhere other than the strikers. Dunk tries to lift the ball over to Matoma, but Richards wins the header. And Palace have the ball with Sarr. He's racing through the middle. He's running at Dunk. Dunk gets a really important challenge in. Pino now has the ball for Palace. Tries to play the ball into the feet of Strand Larsen. It was a good tackle by Boscagli. Howe dithers a little bit and Mitchell gets a foot in, but Brighton are able to get a throw on the far side. Mixed start to Harry Howe's debut for the Seagulls. That was just a slight lack of concentration there by the 17-year-old. It's Gross. Kadioglu loops the ball over to Kuiper in the Brighton box, but he has plenty of time to bring the ball down beautifully. And the fullback just plays it inside to Pascal Gross. Goes over to Lewis Dunk. Now Kadioglu, the right back, gives it back to Dunk. Dunk does the big switch over to the near side towards Matoma. It was well read by Daniel Munoz, but it just drops to a Brighton player to Kuiper. Kostulas can't keep a hold of the ball. Walton now has it for Palace. He'll go route one. He'll lift it over the top. It's one for Sarr to chase. And he'll get there just ahead of Boscagli. Boscagli gives him a little shove into the back. And Palace have a free kick. Boscagli protests his innocence, but that is definitely a free kick in this commentator's opinion and in the viewpoint of the referee. Thomas Bramall, a clear shove right in front of the assistant. I think he's probably frustrated that Sarr absolutely outpaced him to get to the ball. Showed great pace. The Palace forward. Now Brighton have to defend a free kick on this near side. Because Brighton let Diego Coppola go out on loan in the winter transfer window. He's joined Paris FC in France's Ligue 1. So Brighton's defensive options are slightly more limited. Will Hughes prepares to take this corner kick for the Seagulls. It's a heavily congested 6-yard box. It's Hughes with the free kick into the 6-yard box. Brighton managed to head the ball away and Matoma hooks it forward for Brighton Hove Albion. And then it's just played back to the Palace goalkeeper Dean Henderson. He'll launch it forward towards Strand Larsen. He outmuscled Boscagli, but it just comes to the left back to Kuiper. Inside to Boscagli. He'll play it forward for the Seagulls. Kostulas gets a really important touch. He gives it to Matoma. He's got options to his right. He gives it to the youngster, Harry Howe. He's bringing the ball forward. Kadioglu is racing forward to give the overlap. It goes to Kadioglu, and then his cross is cleared by Crystal Palace. And that feels like a wasted opportunity for Brighton. And now it's opened up for Palace to have their own counter-attack. Comes out wide to Ismail Sarr. There aren't too many yellow shirts ahead of him. Forced just to hold the ball, and Ruta comes over and makes a really strong tackle. Sarr is down. Referee in the end does decide to stop the game, and he says it's a head injury, and I'm not sure it is a head injury at all there. And now I think that's just a way of a player to get the referee to stop the game by holding his head. Maybe I'm being a bit cynical here. We'll have a look at the replay, of course. Maybe I'm being a little bit cynical here. He does come in to the face of Sarr with his shoulder. I apologise for that, because I got that one wrong. So Sarr is being checked out, of course. Concussion protocols are very important in football these days. As the referee Thomas Bramall just has a conversation with Daniel Munoz. And Fabian Hertzler just passes on a bit of advice to Jorginho Ruta, his attacker, his number 10. What can the Seagulls do against the Eagles this afternoon? In the 30th minute, it's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0. After today's game, Brighton are away at Villa Park on Wednesday in the Premier League. And then they're away to Anfield against Liverpool next Saturday in the FA Cup. Of course, they beat Manchester United in the last round. That's before the Michael Carrick era began. Of course, Manchester United on a 4-game winning run now. And Crystal Palace, their next game is at home to Burnley on Wednesday. And they actually don't play until the following Thursday against Zrinjski in the Europa Conference League. So Sarri is just still being checked out, but he's back on his feet, he's on the sidelines, and Brighton get us back started with Carlos Believer in the centre circle. Half an hour play, Brighton 0, Palace 0. Gross. Not too many chances for either side. I don't really recall decent chance yet for Crystal Palace. Lewis Dunker's come the closest for Brighton so far with a couple of headers. Matoma onto his left foot, drives a low ball into the 6-yard box. It comes loose to Kuiper. Shot comes in, it's blocked by Lacroix. Drops towards Pascal Gross. Can't get a hold of the ball. Kadioglu's able to play it back to Dunk. It's Kadioglu again. Jorginho Ruta. His pass is cut out. Kadioglu tries to whip the ball into the box. It's hooked away by Lerma. Brighton win it back again. Believer. De Kuiper goes for a shot, but it's straight at the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. A couple of efforts on goal now from the Brighton left back, Maxim De Kuiper. His first was brilliantly blocked. Maxence Lacroix with his left knee. It was a good run by Matoma to drive the ball low into the 6-yard box. Richards got a touch. Ball came loose to De Kuiper, and Hertzler cannot believe that De Kuiper didn't find the back of the net there. Very frustrating for the Seagulls fans. It remains goalless at the Amex. Palace have a player down. They want a free kick, and eventually the referee does give it to them. It was a very delayed decision by the referee. He's certainly taking his time to blow his whistle. Thomas Bramall. It's Adam Wharton, the England midfielder, down. He looks to be in a little bit of pain, the 22-year-old. Pretty much an ever-present this season. Pretty much an ever-present under Oliver Glasner, such an important part of that Crystal Palace midfield. He's just being pulled back by Costulas, and then I think he was caught by, I think it might have been Buscagli. Needless to say, Crystal Palace have a free kick on the near side, just in front of the Brighton substitutes bench, as Fabian Hertzler just comes over and has a very strong conversation with the fourth official. As Yeremy Pino is over the free kick for Crystal Palace. Brighton lined up pretty much on the edge of the D. Ball comes in from Pino. It's headed forward, is loose in the penalty box. Shot comes in and it's high into the stands, into the south stands from Adam Wharton with his weaker right foot. The delivery definitely caused Brighton a few questions as the ball just came loose on the edge of the penalty box. Believer, I think, had just done enough to put off the Palace midfielder. An important header in the box from Richards just to nod it back towards Wharton, but it remains goalless, which has been in a bit of the wars in the last few minutes at either end of the pitch. So Brighton have a goal kick with Bart Verbruggen. He launches it forwards. Header is won by Lerma. High into the sky, drops towards Costulas. He chests it down. Does well to play the ball forward to Howe. Lovely touch. Ruta tries to play the ball through to Matoma. Matoma has the ball in the box, and then there's a strong challenge by Daniel Munoz. And Brighton have a corner kick. Brighton have been the better of the two sides so far in this game without really testing Dean Henderson. De Kuiper had a couple of shots on goal. One was blocked. The other was straight at the goalkeeper Henderson with not as much power. But in the end, I think the offside flag went up. Dean Henderson launches the ball forward for Crystal Palace. De Kuiper wins the header. He nods it down to Matoma. Goes back to the Brighton fullback who plays it forward towards Ruta. He heads it forward, but Howe won't get there. Mitchell will. He'll play it back to Henderson, who kicks it first time. It goes high into the sky. Gross cushions the header down to Costulas. Lovely turn, but Lacroix is there to clear. Believer comes over onto this near side to Ruta. He'll keep the ball in play. Lerma's in front of him. He's going to try and run past the Palace defender, but Lerma trips over, and it will be a Crystal Palace free kick. And Hertzler just can't believe it, and then he's having a conversation with the assistant on the near side. It was just barely a touch on the back of Jefferson Lerma from Jorginho Ruta, but it was enough for Lerma to go down, and I think the referee is always going to give a free kick for something like that. It's Henderson with the free kick. He plays it forwards. Dunk wins the header. On the back of his heels there. Wharton, Munoz, he kicks the ball into Matoma. Palace will have a throw on the near side. Daniel Munoz, who's been an excellent addition to this Crystal Palace team, really does get up and down that right hand side, but so far in this game he's been doing more defending than attacking. But Crystal Palace have a throw on the near side. Chris Richards is preparing to take it. Matoma did just slightly catch the face of Daniel Munoz as he went in for the challenge there. A little bit reckless there from the Brighton winger. Long throw from Richards. Ball's bouncing right inside the 6-yard box. Brighton haven't cleared their lines yet. And in the end they are just able to clear through Costulas. It comes out to Mitchell. He'll hook the ball back into the box, but Bruggen's come out to collect it, and he's done really well there, the Brighton goalkeeper, to collect the ball. And he's rolled it out. And it's Pascal Gross bringing the ball forward for Brighton. He decides to just check it backwards. This goes beyond Lewis Dunk, and Boscagli will go over to collect it. Now to Kuiper, has a little bit of room on this left-hand side. It comes inside to Costulas. Back to Belieber, who's had a pretty quiet game so far, Carlos Belieber. Of course, big talk about a move in the summer just gone to Manchester United. It didn't happen. He's been at Brighton. It hasn't been the best season for him. As the shot comes from Ruta, hits its own player. Comes to Costulas, lays off to Kuiper, and this time he can't get a shot on target, and it's wide. 3 chances now for the Brighton fullback. I think Fabian Hertzler is getting very frustrated on the sidelines, the Brighton coach. It was really nicely worked. It was the shot by Ruta, hit his own player. Ball came loose to Costulas. He teed it up for De Kuiper, and I think it was a really good block in the end. The ball going wide, but I think the offside flag has gone up in the first shot by Ruta as he hit his own player. So Palace take the free kick long. Again, goes beyond Boscagli. It comes to De Kuiper. He kicks the ball high into the sky and will go out for a Crystal Palace throw on the near side. A lot of chances so far in this first half for 2 of Brighton's defenders. The Belgian fullback Maxime De Kuiper, of course he only joined the Seagulls in the summer from Club Brugge, and the Brighton legend, I think you can say, Lewis Dunk. He's had a couple of headers go wide. It's Chris Richards with the throw. Again, right onto the edge of the 6-yard box. It's flicked on. Ball comes loose, and Brighton just about managed to deal with it. Strand Larsen lurking in the 6-yard box. Ball bounced right at the chest of Carlos Belieber. Flicked on by Lacroix. It came to Belieber. Hit him on the body, and then he just kicked it into the legs of Strand Larsen. Went out for a Brighton goal kick. Could have gone anywhere off the new signing from Wolves. Boscagli's complained that the Palace players are encroaching into the box, and it goes to Verbruggen, who clears it long, and it worked. Strand Larsen closed him down very, very quickly, and Verbruggen put the ball out of play on the far side. He's got a smile on his face, Verbruggen, and I think that's mainly because he didn't hit the Crystal Palace attacker. Hughes. It's Wharton. Spreads it over to Munoz, who breaks into the box. Cross comes in. It's headed away by Dunk. And it's out for a corner kick. And that's lifted the spirits of the Crystal Palace fans behind the goal. There are plenty of them who've made the short journey down from Croydon. It's a terrific ball into the box by Munoz, but a really good defensive header by Lewis Dunk. Sarr was waiting just behind. We know he loves to score against Brighton. So Will Hughes is preparing to take this corner kick, and he is definitely a wind-up merchant. He's just got the ball outside of the corner area, and he's trying to take the corner, and I think he just does that just to wind up the home fans. Cross comes in from Hughes. It's deep towards the back post. Flapped away by Verbruggen. And it goes out for a throw, which I think Pino is going to prepare to take. In fact, most likely he will leave it for another long Chris Richards throw, you'd suspect. And again, Crystal Palace are packing that Brighton 6-yard box. Richards has the ball in hand on the far side. 4.5 minutes remaining at the end of the first half at the Amex. Long throw by Richards. Dunk is able to head the ball away. It comes back to Richards. What can the American do? He puts across some decent delivery. Comes towards Sarr and is headed away by Buscaglia. Really, really important header there from the French defender. Signed from PSV Eindhoven in the summer. Just able to get to the ball ahead of Ismaila Sarr. Brilliant header in the end. Crystal Palace have another corner. Palace ending this half strongly. It really is a very congested 6-yard box. De Kuyper is marking Strand Larsen, who is an obvious threat. Cross comes in, again towards the back post. Header comes towards the goal, but it just goes wide. Again, it was towards Sarr. Really deep one from Will Hughes, and Sarr just peeled off towards the back. Dunk tracked his run. Sorry, I think it was Lerma, and Sarr was the player just lurking by the near post. Palace have certainly improved the possession statistic. At one point they only had, I think it was about 34%. It's now about 44%. As Verbruggen launches the ball forwards. There's a foul by Ruta on Lacroix. Palace will have a free kick in the middle of their half. Ruta just leaning into the back of Maxence Lacroix. Of course, the other time these two sides met this season ended goalless. We're yet to see a goal in this game. As Belieber has the ball. It's a strong challenge by Hughes, and the ball just ricochets off Belieber and will go all the way back to the Crystal Palace goalkeeper Dean Henderson. He's formerly of Manchester United, Sheffield United as well. Munoz plays the ball forward to Sarr. He's through on goal. Dunk's going to have to come over. Shot comes in from Sarr, but it's straight into the stands. He should have really done better. And that's Crystal Palace's best chance of the game so far. Belieber's really frustrated with himself. There's Kadioglu cushioning the header down to Belieber. He lost possession to Wharton. Munoz played it through to Sarr, and Sarr had a good opportunity, and Dunk did just enough to put off the Crystal Palace forwards. And Crystal Palace ending the half the stronger of the two sides. Ismaila Sarr looking to make it double figures in goals in all competitions this season. Ball drops towards Ruta. It's Harry Howell. Matoma. Howell again. It just gets caught in his feet. And Lerma made the challenge. Sarr now. His influence is growing in this game. Mitchell wins the ball off Gross. It's Sarr. Kostulas makes the challenge. No foul. Brighton are able to attack with Kostulas, the 18-year-old. Goes wide to Ruta on the far side. Cross comes in low with the left foot, but it goes all the way to the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. Harry Howe nearly got a touch on it, but it just whipped past the teenager. Any type of a touch, and that could have been going into the back of the net. There's Buscaglia. Back to Verbruggen. Ferdi Kadioglu now. Dunk to Gross. Gross launches the ball forward. It's towards Matoma, who chests the ball down beautifully. Lerma, though, does excellently to recover. Palace try to clear through Munoz. It's closed down by Goalless, but it goes out for a goal kick. We're in the 45th minute at the Amex. Brighton & Hove Albion 0, Crystal Palace 0. I suspect we'll have a couple of minutes of additional time at the end of this first half. There's been a couple of injuries where medical teams have had to come onto the pitch just to check their players out. There's been no substitutions, no big delays, but I suspect maybe 2 minutes. We will see very, very shortly. So it's a Crystal Palace goal kick. And it's launched long by Dean Henderson. Hughes heads the ball forward towards Sarr. He tries to nod it back to Munoz. The Kuiper, though, plays it forward for Brighton. We're going to have 2 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. Ruta is down. Play continues. Dean Henderson, the Palace goalkeeper, has the ball. And in the end, the referee blows his whistle because, in fact, it's Matoma who's down. He's holding his face. He's holding his left eye just above it. Just a bit of a collision with Jefferson Lerma. Matoma was already falling down, and Lerma was desperate to get to the ball and just caught the side of the face of the Japan winger, Karun Matoma. Had been linked with a move to Saudi Arabia last year, but is still in the Premier League with the Seagulls. Very talented Japan winger. Only managed 2 goals this season, 1 assist. Yes, he's been in and out the side through injury. This is only his 15th appearance of this Premier League campaign. Of course, Brighton now lacking a few options out wide. Brian Gruder, the young German attacker, has been sent out on loan. That was very late in the transfer window. He's joined Leipzig until the end of the season. The understanding there is that Gruder was determined to try and make a claim to get into the Germany World Cup squad later this year, and that he wasn't going to be guaranteed regular first team football at the Amex, but he had made 19 Premier League appearances this season. Got a goal and 1 assist. Fabian Hertzler just has a quick discussion with his assistants. We have had the 2 minutes of additional time at the end of this first half, as Matoma is still being checked out on the pitch. He might have a little bit of a bloody nose, got a bit of a tissue up his nose. He is being checked for concussion. Lights are going into his eyes. I suspect when he will get back to his feet, there'll be about another 90 seconds to play. Brighton will be hoping that he will be able to continue, because on his day he's arguably Brighton's best player, or certainly their best attacking threat on that left hand side. Of course, he built up a really good connection with Brighton's former left back Pervis Estupiñán, who left last summer to join AC Milan, heading to Serie A in Italy. As Matoma gets back to his feet, he'll step off the field. Play will resume. I suspect we'll have about 90 seconds or less to play. We're now in the 49th minute, the 4th additional minute at the end of the first half, as the referee just collects the ball off Dean Henderson, most likely just to drop it at his feet. Thomas Bramall, and he just drops it to Dean Henderson, who picks the ball up and he tells his defence to move forwards because he plans to kick it long. It's Dean Henderson with the ball. He drops it to the floor. Just slowly walking with the ball, the Palace skipper launches it forward. It's towards Munoz. He'll shove onto Kuiper, but the ball goes out of play for a Brighton throw on the near side. Matoma is waved back onto the pitch. Looks like he'll be okay to continue. So we've got a little bit of bruising under his left eye. He'll have a bit of a shiner in the morning. But the Kuiper just takes his time to take this throw. Tosses it long towards Matoma. McQuarrie gets a foot in and Brighton will have a throw on the near side. And the referee has decided he has seen enough in the first half. Brighton with the better of the chances overall. Maxim Dukup had a couple of shots on goal, but there has yet to been a goal in this game. It means at half-time it's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0. first halves between Brighton and Crystal Palace at the Amex. It's goalless as it stands. Their earlier encounter at Crystal Palace's Selhurst Park back in November was also 0-0. So we've now had 3 halves of football between these two sides without seeing a goal. In the first half, Maxim de Kuyper had the only real shot on target, and that was straight at the goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. As Brighton get us underway for the second half, they're shooting from left to right in their traditional blue and white striped shirts, blue shorts, blue socks. And Crystal Palace are in an all-changed, all-yellow strip, shooting from right to left. The best chance for Crystal Palace came from Ismail Assar, but he wasn't even able to test the goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. Doesn't look like either side has made a substitution at the interval, despite that lacklustre first half. So I'll give you a quick reminder of the two sides. For Brighton in goal, it's Verbruggen. It's a back four of Kadioglu, Dunk, Boscagli and de Kuyper. Baliba and Gross are the two central midfielders, with Howell, Ruta and Matoma playing off Kostulas. Brighton have the ball on the far side with Matoma. He tries to get the ball into Kostulas, but Munoz comes over and does really well just to keep the ball in play right by the corner flag as Palace look to clear. Brighton win the header though. Drops towards Baliba. Lovely little back heel. He wanted to go for a shot, but the ball was just stolen off him by the youngster Harry Howell. Brighton now have it on the near side with Gross. Into Howell, making his first Premier League start, only 17 years of age. Ball comes over to Gross, brings the ball down nicely, lifts it into the penalty box. Ruta's touch is loose and Will Hughes is able to clear for Crystal Palace, and goes all the way back to the Brighton goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. This is the Crystal Palace team. In goal, it's Dean Henderson as a back three of Lerma, Lacroix and Richards. Munoz, Hughes, Wharton and Mitchell across the midfield, with Sarr and Pino playing either side of the Crystal Palace debutant Jurgen Strand-Larsen, who's joined from Wolves. Brighton on the attack here. Comes out wide to Pascal Gross. Over to the youngster Howell. Slightly loose touch. He's able to hold on to the ball. Richards is marking him tightly, and Richards has shown all of his experience there just to shield the ball out of play. Howell shakes his head because he knows he could have done a little bit better there. He's the youngest player to ever start a Premier League match for Brighton. 17 years, 294 days. A real youngster, Harry Howell, thrust into the limelight for a big game, the M23 derby between Brighton and Crystal Palace. Once again, Dean Henderson sends his defence forward for this goal kick. He'll look to knock it long. Of course, Strand-Larsen is an obvious target. The Crystal Palace fans have been shouting his name ever since kickoff. I think they like the look of the new forward. As the ball actually makes its way all the way back to Henderson, he's being closed down by Ruta, so he clears with his left foot. It's a good ball. It's nodded down, but only as far as Howell. It comes towards Kadioglu. Loose touch from Kadioglu, but Howell is able to get there. He's trying to get away from Mitchell. He's done really well here, the teenager. Excellent play. Tries to skate inside. Ball comes loose to Ruta. He threads it forwards. He comes out wide to Gross. Cross towards the far post. It's headed away by Munoz. And Sarr will race away with the ball for Crystal Palace. De Kuyper is chasing him. Plays it forwards towards Strand-Larsen. Dunk comes over. Gets a really good footing, and he's able to just get the ball away from the new Crystal Palace striker. It's Boscagli. Plays it down the line towards Matoma, and then just comes off Jefferson Lerma for a throw. That was a crucial interception by Lewis Dunk. He read it really well and came over with his left foot right in front of the ball striker. Excellent defending by the Brighton skipper. Yes, he's lost an inch or two of his pace, Lewis Dunk, over the years. Of course, he is now 34 years of age, but he is still a brilliant defender. As Mitchell plays the ball inside to Wharton, who slips it through towards Pino, but Boscagli read that well. He's able to just collect the ball on the edge of the penalty area. Kadioglu gives it over to Boscagli. Over to the left back, Maxim de Kuyper. Kuyper had a couple of chances in the first half for the Seagulls. Only one on target, in fact. If we were to look at the stats from the first half, it's very slim pickings in all honesty from what we've seen so far in the game. But Palace are on the attack. Cross comes in, it's too deep, that's too near the goalkeeper. And I think that kind of surmises that this game up so far. It's just lacked that bit of quality. So far in this game, Brighton have had 5 shots, 1 on target. That was that effort from Takaipa. Palace have had 3 shots, none on target. Brighton have had 55% of the ball in possession terms, while Palace have only had 45%. It's Gross on the halfway line for Brighton. Goes out wide to Matoma. Being marked very tightly by Munoz, and Brighton want to throw on the far side. I do wonder how long it will be until one of these coaches decides to make a change, just to add a bit of fresh impetus to this match. It's a very cagey game. You can expect that from a derby, but this hasn't been blood and thunder. There hasn't been any really big, strong challenges. There hasn't been much needle to this game. As the ball just comes off Matoma's chest and it's collected by Henderson. It was a lovely crossfield ball by Lewis Dunk to find the Japan international, who's recovered from that slight knock to the face towards the end of the first half. Henderson goes long towards Strand Larsen. Dunk wins the header. Drops towards Gross. Hughes gets a foot in, and Brighton win a free kick on the halfway line. Just a little bit late there from Will Hughes, trying to come from behind the Germany international, Pascal Gross. It's Takaipa. For Skagli. Thought about going long, he goes wide to Matoma. Loose touch from the winger, but he is able to race away from 2 Palace players. Plays into the feet of Ruta, but he can't control the ball, and Lacroix plays it back to Henderson, who clears first time. Strand Larsen cushions the header down, but Gross is able to collect it, and Takaipa plays it back to the Brighton skipper, Lewis Dunk. Harry Howell on the near side. The teenage debutant is 17 years of age. It's Pascal Gross. The other end of the age spectrum, Pascal Gross. 34 years of age, double the age of Harry Howell, in fact. For Skagli, out wide to Matoma. Into Kostulas. He's worked hard, but hasn't really had an opportunity in front of goal in this game, Kostulas. Held the ball up well, he's dropped very deep at times. As Belieber has the ball, he plays it back to Dunk. Belieber's not really been in the game. It was his mistake that allowed Ismail Assar through in the first half. As Takaipa has a little bit of room on the far side now. Comes into Belieber. Running straight at the Crystal Palace defence. Ball gets caught in Karioglu's feet. It is able to come over to Howell. Plays down the line to Karioglu. He looks up. Cross comes in. Ball comes loose. It's cleared by Lacroix. Drop towards Belieber. Comes out wide to Karioglu. Back to Gross. Brighton will start again with Boscagli in the centre circle. Decides to square it to Dunk. Gross. He just plays it all the way back to the Brighton goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen. Neither of these sides have much imagination in the final third. This Gross, it's a poor ball over to Sarr, but he can't control it. Come all the way to Matoma. Boscagli now has it. Matoma again on the far side. Sarr's in front of him, back to Boscagli. Crystal Palace just sitting in at the moment. Happy for Brighton to have the ball. It's Matoma on the far side. Boscagli's forced to go backwards. This is very passive from Brighton at the moment. They're being patient, but we've yet to see many real opportunities from them in this game so far. It's Howell onto his left foot. This is shadowed by 2 Crystal Palace players, and he plays the ball backwards. It's Belieber. Closed down by 3 Palace players. He's able to get away from them. He flicks the ball over the top towards Matoma, but that's well read by Dean Henderson, who captures it very nicely in his arms. 10 minutes into the second half. Brighton Hove Albion 0, Crystal Palace 0. It's the M23 derby. And these two sides are in terrible form. Brighton only managed 9 points since the start of December. That's the same for Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace haven't won in their last 12 games in all competitions. And it does look like Oliver Glasner is going to be the first coach to make a change in this game. Crystal Palace are going to take off Jeremy Pino, who, in all honesty, has been pretty much anonymous in this game in this commentator's opinion. And he's going to be replaced by Evan Gessan, on loan from Aston Villa. Very talented forward, Evan Gessan, who hasn't really lit the Premier League alight yet. Had a pretty good season last season with Nice in Ligue 1. That got him the move to Aston Villa, but just was unable to cement a place in Unai Emery's team. Of course, Aston Villa having a wonderful season, and they've got some really good attacking options with the likes of Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers. So Crystal Palace have a throw on the near side. Again, it's Chris Richards who is preparing to take it. And again, it looks like he'll try and launch it into Brighton's penalty box. Lacroix has gone forward, so has Lerma. Strand Larsen is a real handful in the air for defenders. Here's Richards, it's a long throw. Headed away by Howell. Comes back to Richards. It will go all the way back to the Palace goalkeeper Dean Henderson. He's going to make the most of the Palace defenders forward, so he plays it forward. It's a loose touch by Gessin. But Palace now have it with Will Hughes. Lacroix. Munoz. Lacroix again. Lovely ball forward. Sarr was caught by Boscagli, but play continues, and then Brighton needlessly lose possession, and that has been a real factor for both of these sides. Lacroix. Richards now. Being closed down by Rutter, so he goes back to Henderson. Brighton, of course, have plenty of options on the bench. As the ball is launched forward towards Dunk, and he'll get there ahead of Strand Larsen, and rather than play it back to Verbruggen, he's just taking the ball away from the goal. Gives it to Howell. It's been closed down by Mitchell. He gives it to Dunk. Brighton get out of danger, although the ball is miskicked by Gross. Play forward towards Sarr, and that pass is poor, and Dunk will get a foot in. Crystal Palace, though, have it again with Hughes. He gets away from Rutter. The referee blows his whistle for a foul by Rutter, even though Palace did have possession. I was going to say the options that Brighton have on the bench include Igor, who's returned from his loan spell at West Ham. Yankuba Minte is, of course, one of the most exciting players Brighton have got. Jack Hinchelwood, very talented midfielder. Danny Welbeck, the attacker, the experienced James Milner, looking to equal the Premier League appearances record of Gareth Barry if he comes on. Jason Steele, Diego Gomez. Matt O'Reilly is back from his loan spell at Marseille, playing for Roberto De Zerbi, and Joel Veltman. A lot of Brighton regulars on this substitutes bench. Gessan nods the ball down. Strand Larsen plays it backwards. Brighton get a foot in, and that's got to be a free kick. It's a late challenge in the end by Jefferson Lerma. Brighton have a free kick, and they were able to cope with the danger on that occasion. Toma, who just got a foot in ahead of Lerma, and then Lerma was late with the challenge. So Boscagli is preparing to take this free kick. He'll take it very, very shortly. It's Lewis Dunk. Boscagli. To Kuiper. Boscagli. Stoulis does really well to find Pascal Gross, and it comes over onto this near side to Kadioglu, who tries to play it forward towards Rutter, but Lacroix read that run. He's able to clear the ball. It comes back to Gross. Back with Lewis Dunk. Strand Larsen nearly steals the ball off the Brighton skipper, but it goes back to the Netherlands goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen. As for options for Crystal Palace on the bench, they've got the new signing Brennan Johnson, Constantis Uche. The attackers on the bench, Nathaniel Klein, very experienced player. Reggie Kamada, pretty much a regular for Oliver Glasner. He's on the bench. JD Cambo, Borna Sosa, left wing back. Chadi Riyad, a regular defender. And then, of course, the sub-goalkeeper, Walter Benitez. So, again, both of these managers have good options on the bench if they need to turn to them. You feel something does need to change in this game. It's Lacroix. Drills it forward. It's cut out by De Kuiper. Pascagli, really important touch. But the ball is played forward. Dunk wins the header, but it just drops to Gesson. He chests the ball forward. He's trying to race away from De Kuiper. He plays the ball into Sarr. He's in space. He's through on goal. Can he get a shot in? And he puts the ball into the back of the net. And Crystal Palace have the lead at the American Express Community Stadium. And it's Ismaila Sarr again. He scored twice when these two sides met. Back in December 2024, he got an assist that day as well, and he is on the score sheet after an hour at the Amex. The Crystal Palace fans go crazy down in the south stand. Gets a big hug from Jürgen Strand-Larsen, but it's really poor from Brighton. It's Dunk's header, just drops to Gesson. He does really well to shirk off the challenge of De Kuiper, and Sarr's in a huge amount of space. He's able to get away from Lewis Dunk. He's able to put the ball onto his left foot and then place it past the goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen, on his left foot. In fact, it's just gone off the head of Bart Verbruggen. It's gone straight at the goalkeeper, and it's hit the side of his head and gone into the back of the net. That will be hugely frustrating for Bart Verbruggen, hugely frustrating for everyone associated with Brighton, but Oliver Glasner absolutely loves it. Dean Henderson, the goalkeeper, slides onto his knees in celebration. It's Brighton Hove Albion 0, Crystal Palace 1, and finally this derby has got a goal. And it's Ismaila Sarr scoring his 10th goal in all competitions this season, his 5th in the Premier League in this campaign. 61 minutes on the clock, and the Crystal Palace fans are in full voice in the south stand at the Amex. They are loving what they've just seen from Ismaila Sarr. He had a good opportunity in the first half. He failed to get his effort on target on that occasion, but he was a lot closer and a lot more central just after an hour. He's managed to give Palace the lead. And now you think that Hertzler will look to make a change. Kadioglu, back to Dunk. Here's Pascagli. Brighton had dominated most of the first half until about the last 5-10 minutes. Then it turns Crystal Palace's way. It's Palace who now have the lead. It's Pascal Gross on the near side. He looks up, he puts a cross into the box. It's over the head of Costulas. It ricochets off Munoz. Drops back towards Kadioglu, who heads it towards Ruta. He's trying to get away from Will Hughes. He's tugged slightly, but the referee has given it Crystal Palace's way because Ruta then collided into Wharton. So it will be a Crystal Palace free kick. Everything going the way of the Eagles at the moment. Fabian Hertzler is sat in the dugout writing some notes, thinking about his next tactical move, the former St. Pauli boss. Been in the job at the Amex for about 18 months now. Of course, he replaced Roberto De Zerbi, the Marseille boss now. As again, Henderson tells his team to go forward and he'll launch the ball towards Strand-Larsen. He chests it down. It's a heavy chest, but he goes down under the pressure of De Kuiper, but play continues. Here's Ruta, he flicks it forward. Brighton on the attack here. They got the opportunity. Shot comes in, it's saved by Henderson. Really important save from Dean Henderson to keep Palace in front. And then Palace clear their lines. That was a massive opportunity for Costulas, who was racing away. It was Matoma to Ruta who played it forward, and he had got away from the Palace defence. He got the ball onto his right foot, and it's an excellent save with an outstretched left foot by Dean Henderson. A super save from the Crystal Palace skipper. Goalless is denied getting Brighton an equaliser, as Diego Gomez prepares to come on for the Seagulls. Goalless has 2 Premier League goals already this season, unable to get a third on this occasion. And it looks like Danny Welbeck is also preparing to come on. Welbeck, Brighton's Premier League top goal scorer this season. He's netted 8 times. Now 35 years of age, the former Manchester United and Arsenal forward. Crystal Palace have just won another corner kick, and it will be Will Hughes who's going over to take it for the visitors. He feints, taking it short. Lacroix's gone forward. Again, a lot of players in the 6-yard box. Sarr is quite near the goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. Hughes is preparing to take it on the far side. Cross comes in. And there's a header won there by Lerma. He just got in front of Bart Verbruggen, but it went over the bar. Got to be honest, the Brighton goalkeeper looked a little lost as he was trying to punch that corner away, and Lerma just got to it in front of him. Just wasn't able to angle the header goalwards. I think it was actually Verbruggen who did get a touch in the end, and it might have came off Lerma's head consequently. Brighton take the goal kick. It's long towards Harry Howell. Really good sliding challenge there by Will Hughes, and he'll play the ball back to his goalkeeper Henderson. He goes long towards Strand Larsen, just comes off the back of the head of the defender Boskagli. Dunk into the feet of Gross. It's a slightly heavy touch by Gross to Kadioglu, but Turkish defender is able to cope. Brighton have the ball with Belieber. It's over to Gross. Howell's in space on the right hand side. Comes to Howell. He's going to try and run at Mitchell. He comes onto his left foot. He just runs into Wharton. Plays it back to Kadioglu. It goes back to Dunk. Kadioglu. Into the feet of Goalless. He tries a clever little flick. He tried one moments ago, which worked. On that occasion it didn't. And it looks like Brighton are going to make the substitution. One of the assistants, Andrew Crofts, is getting ready. And it looks like it's going to be a treble substitution for the Seagulls. Yankuba Minte, the very, very quick former Newcastle United right winger, is preparing to come on. One thing he's really been lacking though since joining the club is goals. He's only managed 1 Premier League goal all season in 22 appearances. He does have 4 assists. I think people associated with Brighton would have been hoping that he would get on the score sheet a little bit more this season. Brighton have only actually suffered 2 defeats in their last 20 Premier League home matches. 10 wins, 8 draws, 2 defeats, dating back to last season. Now losing this one against their fierce rivals, Crystal Palace. A rivalry that goes back to the 70s, featuring a spat between the 2 coaches at the time, Terry Venables and Alan Mullery. The ball is launched forward towards Matoma, but that's a really good header by Jefferson Lerma just to nod it back to Henderson, the goalkeeper. He gets a round of applause from the Crystal Palace fans. They know how difficult it can be to face Karu Matoma, and Lerma has done well. Just over 20 minutes remaining. It's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1. Adam Wharton's just stolen the ball brilliantly off Goalless, and he's driving forward. He plays it out wide to Munoz. He's looking up to put in a cross, decides against it, plays it back inside to Wharton. Munoz again. Wharton. Cross comes in from Wharton towards the far post. It's too heavy though for Mitchell, and it goes out for a goal kick, and the goalkeeper Verbruggen is urging the fans behind the stand to give them the ball very quickly, but Brighton are going to make this treble substitution. Gomez, Welbeck, Minte all coming on. Carlos Baleba is one of the players to come off. Hasn't been one of his best games. Cameroonian. Maxim de Kuyper is absolutely furious that he's coming off. He used language which I cannot repeat. And it's also the end of the game for the youngster, the debutant, Harry Howell. I think he can be pleased with how he's performed in this game on his debut. Just 17 years of age. A lot of heavy breathing on the sidelines from Belieber and Howell. De Kuyper just cannot believe that he's coming off. He is not happy whatsoever with that decision by Fabian Hürzeler. Of course, he had a few chances in the first half. One shot was blocked, the other was straight at the goalkeeper. Will this treble substitution for Brighton make a difference? You feel it has to. They haven't been particularly good today, but then again, neither have Crystal Palace. Mitchell plays the ball forward and it comes all the way to Verbruggen, who will just side-foot it to the skipper Lewis Dunk. In the 72nd minute is Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1. Ismaila Sarr's goal is the difference between the two sides, coming in the 61st minute. Brighton have just made a treble substitution. Gomez. Awata Matoma. Ball is spread over to Ruter on the near side. Gets away from Mitchell. Runs into Gessan. Mitchell wins the ball back for Palace. Ruter's battling. Gessan's just put the ball through the legs of Kadioglu. He made an instant impact in this game. Evan Gessan setting up Ismaila Sarr for that Palace goal. Brighton do win the ball back, and now Pascal Gross has it on the near side. Boscagli brings the ball into the centre circle. Goes wide to Matoma. He's being closed down very quickly by Munoz. It's a poor touch back, and Strand Larsen's able to steal the ball. He's got no options at the moment. He's waiting. He's in the box. He goes for a shot. It's saved by Verbruggen at the near post. I think he would have liked to have played a pass, but he didn't have any options, so he thought, let's have a go. Let's see if I can test the goalkeeper. It was always going to be difficult from that angle. He does force a good save out of Verbruggen, and it will be a throw on the far side. It's always going to be tough to beat the goalkeeper from there, but he gets a round of applause from his coach, Oliver Glasner. Crystal Palace will look to cause some more danger in the Brighton penalty box with another Chris Richards throw. Here's Richards, it's long. It's into the 6-yard box. Welbeck wins the header and it goes out for a corner kick. Stoulis is just questioning the referee, saying, I think he got a little shove in the back there, but I don't think the referee is going to change his mind. It will be a Crystal Palace corner. Welbeck is just in front of Verbruggen, trying to protect his goalkeeper. Sarr is lurking around the Dutchman. Kadioglu is marking Lacroix. Interesting, considering Kadioglu is one of the smallest Brighton players. Cross comes in from Hughes. It's flicked on by Strand Larsen, but it's not goalwards, and it goes out for a goal kick. A recent signing from Wolves, desperate to get a goal on his Palace debut. He just drifted towards the near post and got away from his marker. Flicked on the header, but it wasn't goalwards. Welbeck can't get control of the ball. Lacroix comes in. He takes down Minte. Minte's in a lot of pain. I don't think the referee's blown his whistle here. Both are back to their feet, hobbling a little bit. To his credit, Lacroix did get a touch of the ball, but he did get the man as well. It's Lewis Dunk. Heavy pass to Kadioglu, who plays it inside to Minte. Goes back to Dunk. It's Gross. Gross is now dropping between the two centre-halves more and more often now. Flicked over the top by Boscagli towards Matoma, who can't keep the ball in play. It will be a Palace throw on the far side. It will be interesting to see how Brighton are going to line up here, considering they've taken off the left back. You thought maybe Kadioglu might move over to left back, but instead it's almost as if Brighton are playing a back two now in Dunk and Boscagli, and then Gross is dropping in between them, almost as a back three. It's because you've got Matoma on the left wing here, but he's not really a wing back, as Gross has the ball. Lifts it over the top towards Welbeck. It's well read by Lerma to head the ball away. Comes back to Gross. Nods it down to Kadioglu. It goes back to Dunk. Kadioglu. Just over a quarter of an hour remaining for Brighton to try and get a goal back. It's Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1. Gomez kicks the ball into Hughes, and Hughes wins a free kick. A little bit sloppy from Gomez, the former Inter Miami midfielder. Of course, played alongside Lionel Messi in the MLS before joining the Seagulls about a year ago in last year's winter transfer window. And that's the end of the game for Will Hughes, and he gets a standing ovation from the travelling Palace fans in the away section of the Amex, and he'll be replaced by Daichi Kamada. Pretty much a like-for-like substitution. Kamada's played very regularly for Crystal Palace in that role under Oliver Glasner. The Japanese midfielder Daichi Kamada. This is his 15th Premier League appearance of the season. Brighton have a player down at the moment. It was Strand Larsen who just caught the right knee of Boscagli. Boscagli, of course, joined from PSV Eindhoven in the summer, the Frenchman. Bit of concern at the moment. He's not getting straight back to his feet. Of course, Brighton do have Igor on the bench, the former Fiorentina defender. He was sent on loan to West Ham at the start of the season, but barely played. West Ham have gone through a couple of managers already this season. They now have Nuno Espirito Santo as their boss after the former Brighton boss Graham Potter's reign ended at the start of the season. Here are the Amex hits. Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1. Ismaila Sarr's goal, the difference between the two sides in the 61st minute. Really well taken goal. He loves playing against the Seagulls, having scored twice in this fixture just over a year ago. It sent the Palace fans delirious in the South Stand. Of course, they had a wonderful 2025, didn't they? Winning the FA Cup for the first time in their history. A real moment to remember, beating Manchester City in the final. As Dunk launches the ball forward, it's not very good. That's going to come all the way to the goalkeeper Henderson. In fact, he's come out of the goal and he's just going to have to shield it from Danny Welbeck, and it goes out for a goal kick. And also there's a bit of a conversation going on between Lerma and Welbeck. Finally, tensions are starting to boil between these two rivals. Clearly trying to infringe Welbeck from getting towards the ball, as Henderson was just watching it run out of play. The two just having a few words as Lacroix tries to raise the spirits of the Palace fans to make even more noise behind the goal. As Dean Henderson prepares to take a goal kick, once again long for Crystal Palace. It's towards Strand Larsen. Goes beyond him and Boscagli. Boscagli then clears. One for Lerma to run onto. Roos making sure he can't play it back, and so as he tries to play it forward, goes into Welbeck. Looks like there is no love lost between Lerma and Welbeck in this game. As Lerma just goes chest to chest with Welbeck right in front of the referee. Palace will have a throw with Daniel Munoz. Just over 10 minutes remaining. The American Express Community Stadium. It's Brighton Hove Albion 0, Crystal Palace 1. Crystal Palace haven't won in 12 games in all competitions. They haven't won in 9 Premier League matches. They've got a great recent record against Brighton, and they have the lead at their great rivals at the Amex. Will they be able to see out the last 10 minutes or so? Of course, Brighton thought they were going to beat Everton last weekend, but conceded in the 97th minute to draw 1-1. As Dunk plays the ball back to Verbruggen. Dunk again. He lifts the ball towards Costulas, a little flick towards Matoma. He brings it down nicely. He's going to race away from Munoz. He's done really well here, the Japan winger. Gets past another player. It's a really good run by the winger. It comes off Munoz, and Brighton have a corner kick. That's better from the Seagulls. Munoz complains to the referee. Brighton think about taking it as a short corner, but then just hold their horses. Dunk has gone forward for this corner kick. He'll be an obvious target. He had a couple of chances in the first half. And these set pieces. Cross comes in towards the near post, headed away by Strand Larsen. Gessan brings the ball down, and Palace clear. Goes out for a throw. It's taken quickly. It's tossed back to Ferdi Kadioglu. Minte now has it on the near side. Brighton need him to liven up the game. He can't get past the first man. It's Kamada who won the ball, and then it's a strong challenge from Costulas. He's worked hard in this game. He just hasn't had enough chances in front of goal, although he did have a really big one which he failed to take. And it looks like Brighton are going to make a couple of changes. It looks like their final two substitutions. It's Matt O'Reilly who's coming back onto the field. He's returned after a loan spell at Marseille, and it's one of Brighton's own, Jack Hinchelwood, coming on. He's coming on. I think that was for Costulas. I'll get confirmation of that very, very shortly. But Hinchelwood, in fact it is Hinchelwood for Costulas. Get confirmation of who O'Reilly has come on for very, very shortly. In fact it's for Jorginho Ruta. So Ruta and Costulas off, Hinchelwood and O'Reilly on. What's interesting there is Brighton have taken off two attackers and brought on two midfielders. So there'll be a clear change in positional in where players will play on the field, because they are lacking a striker. Welbeck will most likely go up top. You'd suspect maybe O'Reilly will just play off Welbeck now. If James Milner watches on, it does mean that Milner will not make his Premier League record equalling appearance. That record will just have to wait a little longer as the ball comes out to Kadioglu. It's aside to Pascal Gross. I guess maybe Hertzler didn't want to bring on Milner and have his record equalling appearance be in what could be a defeat. I'd like to think a manager doesn't think as negatively as that, but you never know. Brighton though have won a free kick inside Crystal Palace's half, in the middle of their half in fact, and Dunk is going forwards as Brighton will most likely look to try and loop the ball into Crystal Palace's box. Palace are lined up right on the edge of their penalty area. We're in the 84th minute. There's a one-man wall. It's Evan Gessan. O'Reilly leaves it for Gross. Cross comes in. It's not a very good delivery. It's headed away by Lacroix. Brighton have the ball on the near side with Pascal Gross. Left-footed cross forward is headed away by Sarr. Brought down really nicely by Adam Wharton. He squares it to Mitchell. He tries to play the ball forward. He's racing after it. And Minte is able to get there in front of his own player, Kadioglu, and play it back to his goalkeeper, Verbruggen, who then squares it back to Minte. Brave goalkeeping, actually, because he was being closed down there by Gessan. Strand Larsen just catches a Brighton player, and he will be shown a yellow card on his debut. Jurgen Strand Larsen just pulling back the substitute Matt O'Reilly. Just over 5 minutes remaining. Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1. English Premier League 13th versus 15th at the start of the day in the Premier League table. This would move Palace above the Seagulls in the standings, as Palace began the day just 2 points behind Brighton. If the score stays this way, Palace will move up to 13th, Brighton will move up to 14th. As the referee just brings out another yellow card. This time it's for Diego Gomez, just for pulling back the shoulder of Ismail Assar, the goal scorer. Referee starting to bring out a few yellow cards. Does feel there's a little bit more needle in this game in the second half. It was all a little bit too nice, in my opinion, for a derby in the first half, as Crystal Palace's new signing from Spurs, Brennan Johnson, is preparing to come on. The Wales international. It's a final piece of information from his manager, Oliver Glasner. As Welbeck is just marking Strand Larsen. Adam Wharton prepares to take this free kick for Palace. He lifts it into the Brighton box. Dunk tries to get a header. He does get there. Kadioglu is able to lift the ball away to make sure it doesn't go out for a corner. Brought down by Matoma. He'll play it forward. Brighton have the chance to break here. It's O'Reilly on the right hand side. Comes onto his favoured left foot. Tries to spread it over to the left hand side. It does come all the way to Pascal Gross. He'll just about keep it in play. Plays it back. It's Minte into Gross, who's clearly offside. Gross still has the ball. Brighton's still on the attack, and the ball goes out of play for a corner. But I think Gross will be offside. Indeed, he is. That's a real moment, a real lack of experience there by Yankuba Minte not to realise that Gross was offside. I think he should have known better not to play that pass, as the Crystal Palace fans rise to their feet. They are shouting his name. Ismail Assar is being substituted. It's his goal that separates the two sides with just over 3 minutes to go. It's a really well taken goal. Ismail Assar, he loves scoring against Brighton. And he's going to be replaced by the new signing from Spurs, Brennan Johnson. Dean Henderson with the free kick for Palace. Knocks it long. Dunk has a free header, but he just heads it high into the sky. Has to be flicked backwards by Kadioglu. Ball is loose in the centre circle. Wharton flicks it high towards Strand Larsen. And Dunk heads it back brilliantly to Bart Verbruggen, the goalkeeper, who is able to collect it. He does have some exceptional awareness at times, Lewis Dunk. It's Pascal Gross. Time is running out for Brighton. They're a goal down against their great rivals Crystal Palace at the Amex. Just being forced to play the ball backwards to Verbruggen. It's Boscagli now. Slowly walking with the ball. Decides to go long. Towards Matoma, drops to Matoma. He chests the ball down, and then the defender is able to just kick it away from Matoma. It's a lovely ball forward. Slight shove by Matoma on Lacroix, and then Matoma chested the ball down, and then Lacroix just kicked it off the Japan player. Scagli wins the ball. He plays it forward. It's a nice little touch by O'Reilly. O'Reilly has it again. It's a loose touch. It's cleared forward by Palace, and it'll go all the way to Verbruggen. He has to race out of his area to collect the ball. Gives it to Kadioglu. We're in the 90th minute. O'Reilly on the right hand side. Matoma is to his right. It's a heavy pass to the winger, and Palace have it again with Gessan. Strand Larsen goes down as the challenger Boscagli and wins a free kick, and Palace will certainly take their time to take it. Strand Larsen will stay down on the pitch for as long as possible. He's saying he's got a little bit of cramp. Just caught by the Frenchman Boscagli. Evan Gessan has clearly made an impact for Palace since coming on. He got that assist to set up Ismail Assar. Strand Larsen is back onto his feet. We are approaching 90 minutes played at the Amex. We will see very, very shortly how many more minutes will be played at the end of this second half. Brighton have had 2 shots on goal all game. Crystal Palace have had 3. That gives you an idea of what this match has been like if you are just joining us. The ball just goes out of play for a goal kick. We are in second half stoppage time. We're going to have 6 additional minutes. I'm not really sure where they've got 6 from. There hasn't been too many stoppages. As the ball is flicked on towards Minteh, but that's excellent defending by Lacroix to get to the ball in front of Welbeck in the end. Clearance is only as far as Boscagli. It comes towards Ferdi Kadioglu. The cross is really poor. That's straight at Dean Henderson, and Brighton will need to play better than this when they next play on Wednesday away at Villa Park against Aston Villa. Henderson goes long again towards Strand Larsen, who's had a really promising debut for Crystal Palace. They play Burnley next. Ball goes back to Verbruggen. He has to play it out wide to Kadioglu. Turkish international clears it long towards Welbeck. Ball is loose on the halfway line. Toma gets a touch. He gets it back from Hinchelwood. Goes wide to Minteh. He tries to knock it past Munoz. He goes down. Brighton win a free kick. That's the opportunity for Yankuba Minteh to, or one of the Brighton players to put it across, who's suspected will be Pascal Gross. Minteh is questioning why Munoz hasn't been booked on that occasion. It was a late challenge by the wing back. So Crystal Palace have to defend a Brighton free kick. Matt O'Reilly is over it. Palace are lined up on the edge of their penalty box. We're in the 93rd minute. Cross comes in from O'Reilly. It's a deep one. Ball is headed away by Palace and booted forward. O'Reilly will get to the ball and play it back to his goalkeeper Verbruggen. Players forward, he will likely go long. He does. It's towards Dunk. Palace are able to head the ball away. Comes back to Richards, it comes off Dunk, and that will be a goal kick. Dunk questions that decision from the assistant on the near side. Time is running out for the Seagulls. It's Fabian Herzler watches on. His side a really bad run of form at the moment. Not as bad as Crystal Palace's form had been. They lost they hadn't won in their last 9 Premier League games. They hadn't won in their last 12 in all competitions. And this would mean Crystal Palace would leapfrog Brighton in the table and move up to 13th. Gessan, lovely skill. Plays the ball forwards to Johnson. Palace on the attack on the far side. It's Munoz. Low cross back to Strand Larsen. Shot comes in. It's saved by Verbruggen and cleared by Hinchelwood. Really important save by Bart Verbruggen. It's Matoma who plays the ball forward. It's Dunk who's the furthest forward for the Seagulls, but Lacroix is able to play it back to the goalkeeper Henderson. He launches it out to the wide right. Play back to Lerma. He's being closed down by Minteh, but the ball will go back to Henderson, who clears first time. 2 minutes remaining of stoppage time. Ball comes all the way to Minteh. A really good opportunity for Strand Larsen to open his Crystal Palace account. It's a long ball forward that will go all the way to Dean Henderson, who will just let the ball run out of play for a goal kick. Really good attack by Crystal Palace on the far side. It was Munoz. He looked up and then he just played it back inside towards Strand Larsen, who hit it first time, and the goalkeeper Verbruggen got down low very quickly. It was a strong right palm and his legs made sure that the ball didn't go past him. And then Hinchelwood cleared. It looks like it's going to be another bad afternoon if you're a Brighton fan. They really haven't produced very much in this game. They've only had one win in their last 11 Premier League matches. That was the 2-0 victory over Burnley on January the 3rd. As Gross hooks the ball forward with his left foot. Dunk is battling with the Palace defence. Munoz is going to try and see the ball go out of play, but the referee has blown his whistle for a foul by Dunk. Crystal Palace will have a free kick, and there's about 30 seconds remaining, so they will take as long as possible to take this free kick, and it looks like it's going to be a really big victory for Oliver Glasner and Crystal Palace. Could this be the moment that gets their season back on track? It looks like the conversation between Welbeck and Lerma has continued just to heat up. Gomez wins there, the ball drops to Adam Wharton though. And eventually the official on the far side raises his flag. 6 additional minutes have been played. You suspect once they take this free kick, the referee will blow his final whistle. Very stoic face of Fabian Hürzeler as the referee blows his whistle for full time. The two managers shake hands, but it's been a really disappointing performance by Brighton and Hove Albion. Ismaila Sarr scored in the 61st minute, putting the ball past the goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. It's a really big win for Crystal Palace. It's their first, having not won in their last 12 games in all competitions, their last 9 in the Premier League, but they have won today against their great rivals in the M23 derby. It's finished at the Amex. Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Crystal Palace 1.